So this story takes place during my 6th year of grad school. Some of you have been there, I can tell. The 6th year of grad school, for those of you who've never quite been that far, it's like the 8th month of, I told that wrong. It's like the 10th month, thank you, the 10th month of pregnancy. It's like, something's supposed to have happened, but what was it? Why am I still here? It's not like a master's program with an end date. It's a PhD program where you don't graduate until your advisor says, now. And that's the moment. And for me, this had not happened yet. I was living a pretty typical grad student life. I was in a crappy row house in an unsafe part of Baltimore called Waverly. You know, really, a couple people, or you've seen it on the wire. It's great. It was a horrible place to live. I filled out 5 police reports in my first 2 years living in that house. Seriously. One was for a time when a guy walked me to an ATM at gunpoint. Another time, and this was not even one of the police reports, but just to give you a sense of what the house was like, I opened my front door in the morning to go to work, but I can't because there is a man standing there on my front doorstep peeing. So I closed the door, waited 5 minutes, opened the door, he was gone, and I went to work. That's the kind of house this was. The kind of house where you see a guy peeing on your doorstep, and the only thing you think is, I'm going to be a little late to work today. This guy peeing again. The house had rats, we had ants, we had mice. I woke up one morning at like 3:30 in the morning because my chest was itching. I reached up to scratch it, and I found I was holding a cockroach the size of a small potato. I'm not kidding. I didn't get to see it because it was dark, but I heard it. I just kind of threw it across the room instinctively. I heard it like tap the opposite wall. I turned the lights on. It was gone, but on my pillow was one tiny leg. So I wanted to graduate. I was done. I was ready to get the hell out. But on this particular day in my 6th year, my advisor came up to me in the hallway, and he told me that he wanted some data. Now, you have to picture my advisor. He was this short, angry Peruvian thermodynamicist named Ernesto. And Ernesto would basically just kind of waddle around with a mean face all day, and he wouldn't ask you for data. He would tell you how much data he wanted. He would tell you when he wanted it, and then he just kind of leave. And this time he said, I need you to get me this data for the department seminar we're going to have on Friday. And he was gone. And the problem was, the amount of data that Ernesto wanted was so much more than the amount of data that I had. Does that happen to you guys at work? And you can't admit it? You can't go and say, sorry, I don't actually have that much data. I've been playing a lot of online Scrabble. You just can't do it. So I started thinking, okay, is there any way that I can actually fulfill his wishes? And I did some quick calculations, and I figured, okay, if I am working at optimal speed, I could get the data he wants when he wants it if I work 21 hours a day for the next 3 days. Now, if this is the real world, this is where you'd go to your boss and you'd say, sorry, I can't do this. But this is absolutely nothing like the real world. This is grad school. So I think, all right, let's get started. And I've got this whole complex ballet going where I've got one machine running while I'm cleaning the other machine, and then they switch, and there's actually a period of overlap of 15 minutes in the evening where they're both running, and I've got nothing to do, so I can run out and get a sandwich, come back and eat it in the hallway. And my plan was to sleep from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. both nights. 2 o'clock, I get finished, I get on my bicycle, I go home, I take one step into my bedroom, and that is when I realized that I am standing in about an inch of human sewage. Because that was the other thing about this house, this wonderful house. Anytime something went wrong related to liquid, it always went to the lowest possible place, which was the basement, which was my bedroom. And apparently, one of my housemates had flushed a tissue, and that broke the 90-year-old plumbing system in the house. And sewage had been spraying into my bedroom all day. I know, the word spraying, right? But that's what it was doing. And I didn't know any of this at the time. All I knew is that whatever this was, it was wet and smelly and soaking into my sock. And I saw my bed, as this dry oasis in the sewage. I thought, oh, it's right there. It's 2 a.m. I have to get up at 5 a.m. I mean, anything I can do to solve the problem would take time out of my 3 hours I need for sleep. Like maybe I could call a friend at 2 in the morning and go sleep at his house, but that would take, what, like half an hour to get situated? That's a sixth of my sleep time. We have a couch upstairs, but it's like 4.5 feet long and has wooden arms. I need a place where I can stretch out. So I say, all right, I just have to make it to the bed. That's all I have to do. So I take a flying leap, and the bed's at the other side of the room. So I do touch the ground a couple of times, but I land on the bed on my knees, rip my socks off and throw them in a corner, get my legs under the covers. And that is when I realize that my comforter had been touching the floor. And it acted as a siphon, pulling the sewage up into the lower half of the bed. And I thought, oh, but it's 2 a.m. And I have to get up at 5 a.m. I'm already here. I just thought, oh, fuck it. I don't have any open cuts on my feet. So I slept in sewage. 5 a.m., my alarm goes off, I get up, I get on my bicycle, I go back to work. I work for 21 hours straight. 2 o'clock, I come back, I go back to sleep in sewage again because I did not have time to solve the problem during the day. 3 more hours in sewage, I wake up at 5, my alarm goes off, I get on my bike, go back to work, 21 more hours. I finish exactly when I planned to finish. It was perfect. I get my data, I put them in these charts and graphs and tables, I email it all to Ernesto, and I start thinking, you know, this man just stole 63 hours of my life. In fact, he's stolen 6 years of my life. But if there's any upside to this, it's that I got the data. I did what I set out to do, right? I mean, he's going to present that data at the department seminar, and all the other professors are going to see the data, and they're going to say, wow, that's great data. The guy who got that data, he should graduate. I mean, I'm delirious at this point. This is the kind of thought I'm actually entertaining. And so I go to the department seminar. I am not feeling very good. I'm not smelling very good. Ernesto gets up and he starts going through his presentation. And it's a department seminar, so you talk about all the projects everyone's doing in your lab. And he says, here's what Jeff is working on. Here is what Sandeep is working on. And in conclusion, thank you all for coming. He didn't mention my data. He never mentioned the data that I sent him that night. And as I'm sitting there in the auditorium and people are filing out, it just strikes me that the whole experience was a perfect metaphor for grad school in general. Because you're overworked, you're exhausted, you're unappreciated, and sometimes you are buried in shit. I am pleased to report, however, that I did finally get the degree. Thank you. It took 7 years, which is like the 19th month of pregnancy. But I did get it, and I got out. And one of the first things that I did when I got out of grad school was I actually got a deal with Random House to write a book about grad school, which I've now published. And you can all read it and feel like you've experienced the same things. And the title of the book, this is what it is. You can look it up on Amazon, and I hope you do, because that means you might buy it. The title of the book is Surviving Your Stupid, Stupid Decision to Go to Grad School. Thank you.